Hey, what is going on, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Quarbit, and why is every great power so broke in 1.30.3? Let's talk about it. There are many other questions I also happen to have in the same vein. Why do OPMs tend to stay far below their force limit only to get stomped on in any war? I have suspicions that these will have a very similar answer. But before we get started, and I hate to interrupt, but only 30% of viewers are subscribed to the channel, so if you enjoyed today's discussion, then be sure to help your boy reach 15k by September. That's it, now let's get started. These questions came to me more than just a few times. I started having suspicions a few weeks ago when I noticed allies were refusing calls to arms more frequently than normal, especially when it matters the most defensively. This led to the joke that coalitions have been buffed since all your allies are now too broke to help. And at the rate it's happening, it's far too frequently to simply be some sort of confirmation bias. If you look at all the reports on the subreddit and the recent Discord poll I made, it's pretty clear that people also agree there's kind of a problem here. Great powers and 10,000 ducats of debt before 1600 are rather commonplace, and I think I figured out why. Well, to be honest, I had a theory to start with, but after reading multiple posts, it was pretty easy to confirm. One word: mercenaries. Since 1.30, mercenaries have been radically different from before. Credit where it's due, I'm sure the dev team has changed AI behavior to match the new system as best they could, but something's definitely still off. There are numerous reports of enemy nations going 30% or more above their force limit while also hiring mercs. Hell, I was even playing a Denmark game the other day and noticed England had 30,000 mercs and 20k above their force limit before 1500. I was forced to match their ridiculous merc stacks just to win. Unfortunately at that time though, I was just playing for fun, so I didn't have the whole recording setup ready to go, but here's a similar example from my good friend Shuey Shoot during his Italian campaign.
I don't even want to think about how much debt they have. They have to be in just like some crippling debt. If they're not, they have no debt? They have none? Come again. They have no debt? They have 30,000 mercenaries and they have no debt? I'm not sure about that one. Also, these guys are just...
You can see that Venice has taken out 30 mercenaries and is 50% above his force limit for most of the war's duration. It's kind of ridiculous when you compare the numbers of both sides and just how much overkill that is. But when it comes to winning wars, the AI does tend to unshackle itself and do whatever it thinks it needs to in order to win. Winning often has a higher priority over the economy in every single war versus the AI, and when the AI is fighting a player, I can't exactly confirm, but I'm pretty sure it perceives the player as a higher threat and will do more to try to win. If all of these weren't the case, then the AI would be a complete pushover and unwilling to go into debt to win wars. So it's not necessarily a bad thing, but I think there's a little bit more behind this. Where the AI might have needed to hire a few thousand mercs to win in previous patches, the same logic applies in this current patch, I think. If the AI needs to hire a few mercs to win, then they will hire mercs. The only problem is that they'll often hire a stack much larger than that because they don't have the option of hiring the few that they might need. This might also explain why small nations at the start have 60% or less of their force limit filled from the beginning. It's possible that they're expecting to hire mercs, and so to avoid every OPM from bankrupting themselves, they keep some force limit open. That part's really just speculation though, so let's return to the noticeable debt spirals of massive empires. The changes to mercs also mean that the AI has to shell out hundreds of ducats at once to hire a merc stack and take unfavorable loans a lot earlier. On top of that whole mess, I've seen a ton of reports saying that the AI likes to keep those merc stacks during peace if they don't have enough manpower. I don't remember any instances of this myself, so I decided to do my own research to see if this is actually true. I created a war between Poland, Lithuania, and Muscovy to make sure the sides were even enough for both to hire mercs, and as predicted, they did. There was a little bit of a weird glitch where Muscovy's mercs didn't move for a little while, which was a tiny bit worrying, but nothing too out of the ordinary for weird AI army glitches. The really weird stuff actually happened after the war. Not only did Poland and Muscovy keep those merc companies for 10 years after the war, but Poland was also deleting his own regular units while at peace, which makes absolutely no sense at all. So on top of wasting money on mercs, he also keeps himself at low manpower and low money, so he's ready to take more mercs and go into more debt in the next war. I can't exactly explain what's happening behind the AI here, but it definitely can't be right. So if we take all of these factors into consideration, 1, we have the AI hiring way more mercs than is necessary, 2, going way over force limit with them, 3, disregarding their economic capabilities in order to win, especially against players a lot of the time, and 4, keeping merc stacks much longer than they're supposed to. I guess you could also add in the number 5, which is deleting your regular units at peace while keeping said merc stacks. It kind of fits under 4, but it's definitely another anomaly which probably isn't just the isolated incident with Poland. All of these things lead to taking more loans than usual, which is what's causing these mid-game debt spirals for normally powerful AI. I'm sure there are many more factors at play here, such as the AI refusing to delete or mothball forts a lot of the time, as well as refusing to state land because their governing capacity is too low for it, while also not taking the right steps or privileges to fix said governing capacity issues. And to be honest with you, it's not like this is a very unsolvable issue. It's actually very solvable if you use a combination of the Disband Mercs mod and the Better AI mod. You will get something much closer to how the AI used to act in 1.29, and generally will give you a bit of a better experience, however you can't get achievements. By the way, full credit to that fix there to Flames of Ice 6 on the subreddit for finding this amazing solution. Again, you can't really get achievements on it, but it should give you that much smoother experience with allies and great powers. I really wish I could give my personal suggestions to improve this situation, but I don't have enough experience with EU4 modding to figure out how the AI armies work and how the economies are supposed to play into that whole thing. The best I can give is, have them disband mercs within less than 3 years if they're at peace and there are no general threats of uprisings. Another one is obviously tell them to stop wasting their manpower and money while deleting their units. It's kind of weird and shouldn't exist in the first place, I think. Now, I know I wasn't particularly much help in this video, but I hope you at least learned something, especially the reasons why it happens, and if the Paradox team happens to stumble upon this, then, hopefully it's useful as well. So in the end, if nothing else, I hope it stops bugging you from now on like it did for me. While not being fixed, at least now you kind of know the reasons why. Of course, if you enjoyed today's video, then dropping a like is hugely appreciated. Dropping a comment also helps to spread it among the people on the algorithm, so it'd be very nice if you'd like to do that as well. For those of you who don't know, I also stream on Twitch on the weekends from 1 PM Eastern Standard Time to 4, so if you want to stop by and say hello, I'll be there to greet you. Social media and Patreon links are in the description, and this is Quarbit signing off. As always, have a fantastic day. I'd like to give a quick shout out for the patrons for the month of July, especially those we have in the Admiral tier, Ben Greenhagen, Cara Newley, and Tiger Pop. Those in the General tier, Justinian, Brennan Arcano, and Alexander Baker. Those in the Prince tier, Natsuki, Rockbox 2020, and TFLJ Martis. And as always, in the King tier, we have Chewy Shoot. Thank you guys so much for your pledges, it means a lot to me. You're helping to move this channel forward much more than you know. And as always, I cannot possibly thank you enough.